Today we're going to still be writing equations of lines, but today we're going to be focusing on horizontal and vertical. Before we even look at writing, let's practice graphing, just to connect to our old understanding. It says graph y equals 3. That means that the y value is always 3. So the easiest place that y is 3 is right there. Where else is y 3? Well, this is 2, 3, and 4, 3, and 6, 3, and negative 6, 3. So that is my line. This line says graph x equals negative 5. Well, where is x equals negative 5? Well, here's one place where the x is negative 5. Where else is it negative 5? Negative 5, 1. Negative 5, 4, negative 5, negative 2, anywhere straight up and down. That is where x is negative 5. Anywhere on this line, the x is always negative 5. Anywhere on this line, the y is always 3. Well, how do we describe this line? We don't want to say straight, because all lines are straight. This is what we call a horizontal line. Horizontal. And what is its slope? Well, I can do rise over run. I don't rise at all, and I can run 2, or I can run 5 or 6. But if my rise is 0, then my slope is 0. Another way to think of that is if you were riding your bike, how steep is this hill? Well, it's not steep at all, so it's 0. Now let's look at this line. This line is straight up and down. We call that vertical. And what's its slope? Well, the rise is 1 and the run is 0. If you type that into your calculator, you get error in your calculator. What does that mean? That means that this line is so steep that we can't actually describe it with a number, so we say the slope is undefined. If you tried riding your bike up this one, you would fall straight back down. You can't. It's impossible because it's too steep. So the slope is undefined. Now let's look at some writing examples. What is the equation of each line? What I notice about each of these is that this one's horizontal and this one's vertical. So when they're horizontal and vertical, if you go back a page, you'll notice that it was just one variable, y equals, or x equals. Whenever it's horizontal and vertical, there's only going to be one variable in the equation. So what variable is in this equation? Well, I just crossed the y-axis at negative 2. And the y stays the same, so my equation must be y equals negative 2. Come over here. Well, what axis did it cross? It crosses the x-axis at 7. And the x always stays on 7. It never goes to 8 or it never goes to 6. So in this equation, it's x equals 7. Because it crosses the x-axis and stays at 7. What's the slope of each line? Okay, the slope of a line and the equation of a line are different. This describes all of the points. The slope, well, is this super steep or not steep at all? It's not steep at all. This line, this is the equation. This describes all of the points on the line, but what is the slope of the line? Is it super steep or not steep at all? It's super steep. You couldn't ride up it. So the slope is undefined. Okay? The equation is x equals 7 and y equals negative 2. The slopes are numbers that describe the steepness. The equations represent all of the points on the line. What is the equation of the line passing through 5, negative 3, and 5, 7? Well, if you don't catch anything right away, go back to what we did in lesson 2, which was we tried to write y equals mx plus b. And we remember, hopefully, that the m is our slope. So the first thing we need to find is our slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's 10 over 0. If you type this into your calculator, you get an error because you can't divide 10 by 0. This means it has no run. The slope is undefined. If the slope is undefined, then that means it's, if you go back a page, undefined slopes have vertical lines. In this case, all of the x's were 7. So I look on this one, what do I notice about my 2 points? Yeah, both x's are 5. So if my x is always 5, then that's my equation. That's the equation of the line. This equation tells me all of the points. This tells me how steep the line is, but this tells me all the points. Come to the next one. They give me 2 points. I'm going to look for y equals mx plus b. And the first thing we always look for is the m, or the slope. So, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's 0 over negative 4. If you type that into your calculator, you get 0. What does that mean? That means the steepness of the line is 0. There is no steepness. So that means it would have to look horizontal. Come over here. What do you notice? The y is negative 3 and the y is negative 3. If the y is always negative 3, then your equation is y equals negative 3. And that would be your final answer. This describes all of the points on the line. This describes how steep the line is. I will go ahead and tell you that when you see zeros in the slope, a red flag should go off. And that means that it's either horizontal or vertical. If you have a 0 in the denominator or 0 in the bottom, or the top, that means it's horizontal and vertical. That means you're not going to use y equals mx plus b at that point. You're just going to think about, well, what is the same? Is the x the same or is the y the same? Now I'm going to want you to pause the video, so I'm going to give you a few seconds. Pause the video, try these 2 problems, and then check your answer by unpausing. Alright, here are the 2 answers. Simply, I saw across the y-axis at negative 6, and all of the y values stay at negative 6, so there's my equation. Over here I started with slope. I got a 0, so that immediately put off a red flag. That's undefined, which means the line is super steep, which means it must go up and down, which means it's an x equals. If you're not sure, once you see it's undefined, come back and look at your points and realize that both of the x's are 6. So that's your equation. If you're not sure, you can always graph these 2 points on a coordinate plane. 613 would be up here, 69 would be right here, and that makes a vertical line. Last thing that you are going to do is answer these questions on your paper. Okay? I'm going to stop the video. You are going to write these questions or these answers down in complete sentences. What does a horizontal line look like and what is its slope? You're going to start with a horizontal line looks like and its slope is. Okay? Write it all out in words and then we'll discuss these when you get back to class next time.